Futures trading involves risk and is not suitable for all investors. Content provided in this segment is meant for educational purposes and is not a solicitation to buy or sell commodities.
Hello, welcome to the September 27th edition of Basis Loaded with Joe Schmit. I am Joe Schmit. As always, this episode is produced by Paige Driscoll with the help of the entire EverAg Insights team. This is our first episode of the fall season. We made it through summer. What better way to celebrate than with the latest from the NDPSR report, starting with butter. The butter number this week came in at $274.99. That represents a plus 2 to the CME 1-week average of $272.70. We traded 23 loads on the CME last week. That is pretty decent volume. That translates here to the NDPSR, coming in almost at 4.1 million pounds. So north of our expected 3.5 million pound volume level. And what's interesting, as prices at the CME begin their trek higher, we were able to maintain normal basis in butter. Up next is cheese in the blocks, 198.23. That represents a plus 3 to the CME 1-week average of 195. Only 3 loads traded at the CME, so probably a little bit below normal volume, although average for the last couple months as this market has trended higher, volume on the CME has been sparse. This is the last week for the CME average in the mid-90s before the volume once again returned to the CME. You'll notice that this NDPSR block price remains within 2 cents of the $2 even level. And again, with prices at that elevated level, we're seeing lower than expected reported volume here on the NDPSR report. Essentially just 10.5, so 2 million short of our expected 12.5 million pound volume level. Volume on the NDPSR coming in again well under expected levels, as has been the trend the entire time prices have remained close to this $2 level. In the barrel, 188.30. That represents a plus 4.5 to the CME 2-week average of 183.70. Now, we actually did have some volume here on the CME. We averaged 35 loads last week. Those 35 loads traded at the CME may have pulled basis down somewhat. 4.5 is at the low end of our expected basis. And this is the first week that we begin to see declining barrel prices on that CME 2-week average. So the first weekend, basis still holding close to historical norms. On a sharp decline lower at the CME, you would expect those declines a little bit slow to get in to the NDPSR, meaning that basis widens. However, here we're at the low end of the historical basis range at only 4.5 over, and perhaps the 35 lows that were traded at the CME went a long way to pull that basis in line, as those 35 lows occurred last week at a significantly lower level than we're seeing here on the NDPSR. Up next is whey, 30.14. That represents a minus 1 to the CME 1-week average of 31.31. We traded 30 loads on the CME last week, so big volume coming in second place to the barrel on CME weekly volume. That volume translates here to the NDPSR, north of 5.1 million pounds. So a good deal, more than 500,000 above our expected 4.5 million pound level. This 30.14 is a nice number in terms of whey price. If you go back and look at the September 9th NDPSR value of 28.50, what that means is that last week, spot whey loads traded essentially a penny and a half over prior week's NDPSR. So good volume and a pretty good overage over prior week's NDPSR. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the weeks to come, as the 30 lows that we traded last week was the beginning of the reemergence of the sell side at the CME. Whey sales have continued at the CME this week, and that could go a long way to pull that basis down as the sales on the CME get reported minus freight. It'll be interesting to see how long NDPSR dry whey is able to stay close or above this 30-cent level that we achieved today. And then lastly, non-fat, 112.76 is a really nice number relative to the CME 1-week average of 108.69. That 108.69 was the low week at the CME, so you would expect higher than normal basis. 13 loads traded at the CME last week. That volume does not translate to the NDPSR, falling short of 15 million pounds. So non-fat sales suffering once again this week, falling well short of our expected 20 million pound threshold, a full 5 million pounds short. So the manufacturer was able to call a premium, but at that premium was unable to move a substantial amount of product. So this is week 4 or 5 for the September pricing cycle, currently getting a September class 3 of 1841 with September class 4 up at 1897. If you carry current CME equivalents out through the entirety of the October 4-week pricing cycle, currently getting an October class 3 of 1677, and with the increases that we have seen in butter, current October class 4, 21 even. So a substantial inverted class 3, class 4 spread if you carry current prices all the way out through the October pricing. We'll see what they have in store for us at the CME in the weeks to come. On behalf of Paige and the entire EverAg Insights team, I'm Joe. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon. Bye.